Hello, I'm Rohan. I received the Weidenfeld-Hoffmann Trust Scholarship for the University of Oxford. It's this internal scholarship wherein you apply through Oxford directly and they shortlist some candidates, and then it's a 60-40 sort of a funding situation wherein the trust funds 60% of the entire course, and like particular Oxford colleges and other organizations are entrusted with the rest of the 40%. I received it for the MSc in Modern South Asian Studies course, which is a 9-month program.
Okay, so from what I know, you have to attach a written document with your application, right? So I was going through the document and I saw that each answer only, like you have to answer it within 200 words. So I wanted to ask, how did you manage to put everything in 200 words? Yeah.
It's really difficult. So like what I would suggest is that you have a very particular structure in mind, and that, for instance, there are questions like, and I'm going to read this out: why do you want to participate in the trust program? What value do you see in our moral philosophy seminar and the enterprise challenge? So it's a good idea to begin with what what your background is, right? What are the kind of things that you have done throughout college and like throughout university, or even before that for that matter. Talk about your political background, because that's something that they really care about, because there are people from like they have this New Hope scholarship in which they fund students coming from Afghanistan and Ukraine, and it's in the very particular political context. So bring up the political context, try to talk about your social experience, and try and say as to what you think, like what particular aspects of the program are going to help you, because what they want to know is that you've read enough about the program, that you know enough about the program. And the way you can keep doing that is, okay, so this is this particular thing that you do, and this is how this is going to benefit me, and this is how it's going to benefit in my future, so that they know exactly a how you want to, like, you know about the program, b what you hope to do in the future with this program. So I think that having some clarity with regard to that, and as soon as you start writing, right, you'll invariably end up writing a lot, and then you'll have to really cut down and chisel as to what exact paths you want to do. And unfortunately, that's just a skill. That's you use things like Quillbot, you use things like Grammarly, you try to cut down on your words, try to make it quote unquote more effective writing. So I think that, yeah, just be clear about what the program is and how you think this is going to help you in your future. And as soon as you do that, just keep bringing it in different sort of different questions. For instance, there's one question about uh, have you ever mobilized a group to achieve a common goal, and how? So I, for the most part, spoke about that very particular experience, right, as to what the problem was, how I helped with it, and what the kind of resistance was, how did I bring everyone together. And then I sort of brought into, again, oh, this program, it will give me the opportunity to engage with these other scholars and bring it and take this forward in this way. So I think that uh, the way that you can write brief answers, like 200-word answers, is to have clarity, and that you start getting as soon as you start writing.
What would you recommend for students, who haven't done that many extracurriculars in college? Maybe their college wasn't that inclined towards the other things and they were more on, the rote basis learning, like you were giving exams. So how can someone like that navigate a scholarship like this?
Mm, that's the thing. With most of these scholarships, you would think that they would care a lot about all of the things that you have done. So there are people like, so when I looked at the scholarship, for instance, when I was shortlisted, I was horrified. I was just crying to my friends, why the hell have they shortlisted me for this scholarship? It's not for me, because people like Gurmeher Kaur got it. And she had written 3 books by that time. She was Times top 10 change makers. And this is right after she had graduated from Lady Shriram College, right? So uh, you would think that it really matters. I don't think it's more so about how you pin whatever you have done and put that in the context of the scholarship. So it does not have to be, oh, I have done these 10 massive things, I have written 10 books, I have helped refugees living in this area. It does not have to be that. I did not do any of that, right? What is required though is the skill of bringing together whatever you may have done, right? Even if you did some social service activity, what did that teach about leadership, right? If you were a part of a society, for instance, which I mean, most universities have active societies. If you're in the debating society or in the like English teaching society, for instance, how did that help you align yourself, and uh how has that given you the skills for this leadership program, right? So it does not have to be, you do not need to have done all of these big things, change the world and whatnot. I think that even if you're able to show that from these small things you have potential and that you have shown interest in the past, given your circumstances, because these scholarships they tend to be very aware that okay, this student is coming from this particular social background, they do not have access to these resources. Even if you're able to show that okay, I did not have the resources but I still did this, that's good enough in my opinion.
Okay, I'm sure that's very comforting to hear. Then I would like the third thing I wanted to ask is the one of the questions is state your 5 to 10 year plan, right? And one of the aspects of the scholarship is that you intend to go back. You need to intend to go back to your country. So did you mention that in your plan? How are you going to come back and make a change? So,
Yeah, so throughout the throughout, so there are 5 questions of 200 words each. Throughout all of them I had this one single line of, oh, I want to work in education policy, right? And so that all culminated in the final answer where I had to talk about my 5 to 10 year plan. And there I did mention that, all of the things that I want to do, it will only be possible when I come to Oxford and I have this sort of, community of scholars who want to make a change, etc., etc., etc. But at the same time, I get the distance from my country to be able to see the problems in a greater perspective, and then I come back to the country, right? And see, again, with most of these scholarships, be it this, be it Commonwealth, a lot of these scholarships they are about change making in your home country, and like there's a very uh, almost a derogatory aspect in which a derogatory way in which they talk about or returning to your home country to make a change, wherein your country invariably requires a change, which is why you are being chosen, right? So there's like that power equation which is really problematic. Uh, so you do not need to do that, right? But at the same time, in the scholarship application itself, you can always write that these are the things that I'm interested in, and these are the kind of problems that I think there exist, and these are the ways in which I can help solve them. And the only way I can do that is when I come back to the country after I get this scholarship in this particular program.
okay. So can you tell me a little bit about your interview experience? When did you get a call back and how was the process?
So I had applied, I had sent in my application, I think around 18, 19 January. Uh, and after that, I got my interview call around the mm, second week of March, I think, on the 11th or something of March. And I got my acceptance email on the 18th or so. So the application, so no, wait, this was in April. It's May right now, right? Yeah, this was all in April. So they took almost 3 months to get back to us as to whether we have been shortlisted or not. The interview process was very simple, honestly, because again, I personally think that with most of these internal scholarships, so this again and a lot of the other scholarships, Felix even, uh, the most important part is to get shortlisted, right? That's the hardest bit because you don't know what they have in their heads. If you get shortlisted, in my opinion, it's quite easy because my interview it was very straightforward. It was very simple. All that they wanted to see was whether I had enough idea about the scholarship, about why the scholarship matters to me, about how much I knew about this scholarship, right? And so, in that sense, I had prepared with a lot of these forward-looking plans. So, when I get this scholarship, I will do these things, and these are the particular things I want to work on when I'm at Oxford. But they didn't ask me about any of that. So getting shortlisted is the trickiest bit in my opinion, and I don't really know how that really works in all honesty. But yeah, the interview process, it was mostly it was very internal in the sense that it was all about how much I knew about the program. So they asked me, for instance, why this particular scholarship, what makes this scholarship different from other scholarships. They asked me about, so this has 3 segments: the model philosophy seminars, the entrepreneurship challenge, and practical skills, and then they have the scholars debate and whatnot. They asked me, oh, what is the difference between the model philosophy seminar and the entrepreneurial challenge. And this is all in the flow of a conversation. It's not them not imposing me questions. It's coming in a back and forth. So it was a very conversational interview in that sense, and they segued into these different things that I want to talk about. They asked also, I'm just going to read whatever I had written. What will you do if you did not get the scholarship? They did not ask me this directly, but they wanted to see as to uh, what are the other avenues through which I want to quote unquote grow? And am I a person who is able to take up whatever opportunity I get and grow from them? They asked me how did I prepare for the interview, what tips former scholars gave to me, and what is the most courageous thing which I did, which I fortunately had something in mind, so I was able to talk about it. Was this a risky idea? Was this a bad idea? Did you want to back off at any moment? So it was, they didn't ask me random things like, oh, what is leadership to you, right? It was all like, if you have read about the scholarship once or twice on the website, if you've read whatever document they give to you, if you've just spoken to one or two previous scholars, if you do not have access to that, if you've just uh, watched videos of the scholarship, that's more than enough in my opinion, because that's all they asked, at least in my interview.
Okay, so I have one last question. How much time did you spend on the application, and what was the hardest part of applying?
I did not initially apply to the scholarship because I thought that there's no way in which I'm going to get it. Uh, I had so I had filled in my application for Oxford around the, like, I had submitted it on the 11th of November, which was the early deadline for my program. I got my response within 3 weeks, around 5 December. After that, obviously, scholarships were was a thing. So uh, for particular scholarships, there's ESRC, there is Ertigan, there is WHT, and then there's one more scholarship. I can't remember, Oxford DTP, something of that sort. And in all of these, you have to tick a box and you have to submit an application with whatever questions they ask. I had not done that for WHT. So I had to, around January, I had to mail them and be like, listen, I did not do that. Can you please let me do that? And they were like, yeah, sure, go for it. And so I submitted it around that time. Uh, so I think the hardest part is just convincing yourself that just write it. I personally, if I'm being very, very, very honest, this application was much more a cut, copy, paste of whatever other applications I'd written. My Etiquette application was a lot more original in that sense. This was, oh, okay, I've written this in Commonwealth, I've written this in Rhodes. Let me just cut, copy, paste this. Oh, okay, this is what they want from the scholarship and the scholars. Let me add this as well. So, uh, so the hardest part is obviously just applying, just thinking, "Yeah, okay, I can just do it." The second hardest thing is writing your responses within 200 words and convincing yourself that, and structuring it well, so it should not look like a mishmash of things. All these different answers, they should give them a different sense of your personality, because that's the point of these, them asking you five different questions. So use that space as well as you can. uh, Structure again, have a very clear idea as to what you want to do from this scholarship, as to how particular aspects of the scholarship help you. I think that in terms of the difficulty, it's just that, just writing these responses within 200 words. So I think if you're able to uh, do that, you're going to be good.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add?
uh, Not particularly, just that for this particular scholarship, it's a good idea also to uh, for in terms of the questions and how you go about writing them as well, because I think that again, shortlisting is the hardest part. It's very important that uh, you do not let yourself down, in that you feel that, okay, whatever I have done, it may not be enough, but it is enough. uh, that they do not have a quote unquote ideal scholar type. I do not see myself as an ideal scholar, right? I know other people who had also applied who didn't get shortlisted, who I think should have at least gotten shortlisted, right? So it's a uh, the just try and ensure that you are able to almost uh, tailor your responses confidently, to not think that I have not done enough. Even if you have not enough, it's okay. uh yeah, I think that that's more or less it.
Okay, thank you so much. Just one last thing. Do you have any idea how many scholars from India are selected? Do they
Yeah,
have a
so
quota?
I think they do. I think in the last 3, 4, 5 years they've chosen 4 scholars every year. This time also I know 3 scholars already. I don't know the last one, but yeah, it's more or less 4 scholars every year.
Okay. Okay, then that would be all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.